Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Auburn Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, September 25th, 2018, now called to order at approximately 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live by Local Access Programming. Is there anyone in the audience here tonight that's recording tonight's meeting? There being none, please rise and join us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I would like to remind the audience, applicants, town administration, and each of the planning board members to please refrain from asking questions in regards to all matters discussed this evening without first being granted my consent. First item on the agenda is motion to open the public hearing. Do we need to open it? Yeah. No. I'll just continue it.
Yeah, just to continue.
Why don't you want to speak first?
Just to read it.
7 o'clock. Applicant is First Worcester Pentecostal Church. Request for site plan approval to operate a church within an existing church facility under Section 3.2.3.3 of the Auburn zoning bylaws on property located at 188 Oxford Street North. This has been requested to be continued to October 30th meeting. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, so I did speak to the applicant today. The applicant would be unavailable and out of the country on our October 9th meeting. And the board had discussed at a previous meeting about adjusting our October schedule to accommodate for special town meeting, which is October 23rd, but that falls on our regular scheduling date. So before we were to continue this meeting to October 30th at the applicant's request, I would request that the board makes a motion to reschedule its October 23rd meeting to October 30th if the board so wishes to do so.
Is everyone okay with that? What day is that on?
It's also a Tuesday.
Through the chair, did you find out about when Halloween is going to happen?
I did not, but
I think that was the thing that held us up last time. What night were they actually going to do the trick or treating on?
I don't think the town knows yet. I think it's still too early to tell.
So, can we schedule for October 30th and then reschedule it on the 9th if that doesn't work?
We could still put it off on the 9th for now, just for discussion.
Good.
Yeah, can we do that?
So just wait and just vote to continue this to the 30th.
Yeah, or we take no
Or
action
just take
tonight,
no-
we just table it onto the next agenda, and then we can vote to accept the request to continue to the 30th on the 9th.
Through
Everybody
the chair,
okay?
wouldn't we continue it to the 9th to discuss it then?
Okay.
We have a motion to continue this public hearing to the 9th of October.
I'll make the motion to continue the hearing to October 9th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. At that time, you'll have an answer. You should have an answer on Halloween by then.
Yes, I hope so. Given the time, Mr. Chairman, I request to review minutes in advance. The next public hearing isn't until 7 to 5.
Minutes of 9/11/18. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of September 11th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Wait just a minute.
No.
How long have we got to 7:05, Dick?
Yeah. 30,
1 minute. Less than that, actually.
20 seconds.
5 of 9. About 15 seconds.
Clock is working again.
How about that?
Did you get any heat on?
It's fast. I did. Good to go.
7:05
Okay,
now.
we have a 7:05 public hearing. The applicant is Masad Family LLC. A request for site plan approval under Section 6.7 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the expansion of a dealership parking lot and vehicle storage on property located at 24 to 28 to 30 Faith Ave. This has been continued from September 11th, 2018, at the request of the applicant. Is the applicant present tonight?
Yes.
You come up to the table and state your name and...
My name is Zachary Bless. I'm the representative for the project. I'm from Existing Grade Incorporated, the civil engineer for the site.
You can put it up now.
Yep.
Can you pull it up, Matt?
Yep.
Please.
Okay, so this is the second time we've been here. The project has gone out to Graves Engineering for review, and we got their original comments and made some revisions to the plan that was before you previously. And then we did just recently get the second set of comments, and we're prepared to discuss that. But to kind of give a quick summary of what's going on again here. Faith Avenue, there's 3 existing structures between 24 and 30 Faith Avenue. And those have been torn down, and the intent is to create a storage lot within those parcels. So this is the same plan that's up there. To kind of give a quick summary of some of the changes that we made, the biggest item that we had to do is we had to expand the pond in the forebay to be able to handle the 100-year storm and leave the 1 foot of freeboard over it, which is now, that's able to do that. In doing so, we've expanded the underground storage and infiltration of the Caltech units a little bit. And part of doing that is the parking lot has been resized a little bit, and we dropped down from about 190 to 179 parking spaces.
Can you show on there the proximity of the parking lot to the dealership as it sits, and then the road that's gonna, the new section of Faith?
Sure. The dealership is over in this parcel on the other side of the new Faith Avenue, which is going to be coming down, and the redesigned Faith Avenue will come down kind of heading south in between this new parking lot and where the dealership is.
And that's where the houses were.
Yes, correct. And the houses were...
So it's gonna come down the Faith Ave off of Southbridge.
Correct.
Coming this way down there like that and coming up through.
Correct.
That'll be the new section right in there, and the other one used to loop around.
Correct, yeah, and then the old road used to kind of loop around, so this will be that new
I
roadway.
just
that's
want
been
everybody to
approved.
be able to see where we're at.
And then part of the project is we're going to have 2 entrances and exits, and that was at the request of the fire department during the development coordination group meeting. So we have 1 entrance off of Faith Avenue off the existing portion, and then we're going to have 1 entrance on the new section, kind of on the curve there.
Kind of where the new street would be, generally, not exactly, but just to give you an
And the
idea.
lots,
And then we have those 3 lots, 24 through 30 is where we'll be putting that, the storage lot.
no, are they already working on that road?
Yes.
Yes.
The only other thing we're waiting is from approval of the state that the contract went through.
On the other side of
Take
the
over
street.
the other.
Yep. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just through the chair, having just received this copy of the peer review recently, I did distribute copies to the members here this evening, and I had circles, some of the ones that are still outstanding. Did you get a chance to?
I have reviewed those, yes.
Okay. I just, if you don't mind, I'd like to just read a couple numbers.
Absolutely.
And we could
Let's
address
go
those
through them
as
all
we
if you
go.
want.
Well, some of the ones that are addressed, I don't see the need, but the first one right up the gate.
I mean the ones that you got
Yeah.
marked.
First one is number 1, that being, oh, they said that. Do you guys go to the ZBA for a special permit for impervious? I think you already did that.
I have not gone to the ZBA for
Okay.
this.
I don't know if it was on the zoning interpretation form or not. I can't recall, but we'll have to follow up there. But number 5, landscape plan, I think that's important to go over with the board, since the board would be granting waivers. And this number 5 and letters A, B, and C.
What about 2, Matt?
How about 1?
What about 1?
Number 1, I was just kind of talking about, it's going to be up to the zoning officer, so we'll have to talk to Caleb about that. So,
Well, it says he responded. You're the design engineer?
That's correct.
Okay. It says the design engineer responded that a special permit was not filed for the site.
We have not, when I spoke with the client, he stated that these vehicles in this lot are not going to be sold in this lot, and there's not going to be any sort of stickers or car sale signs on them, so at this point it is a storage lot. There'd be no sort of sales being conducted on this lot. That once their main lot would be depleted, they would take vehicles from this lot to bring them over to sell them over there. That's why,
So what is it that there's no, they don't need a special permit if it's just storage cars? I didn't,
put it this way, I would leave that interpretation up to the zoning officer.
Caleb.
And if he gave his zoning determination to have them apply for a special permit for this, that would have been on the interpretation and been applied for. So sometimes, and I see this on a lot of our reviews, is they find things that may or may not agree with the zoning officer in the first place, and it's not Graves' interpretation to interpret that.
so we need to talk to
Responsibility interpret
Caleb
that, excuse me.
on
Yeah.
number 1.
Yeah, I think it may have already been answered, but I can verify.
What do you think the answer is?
I think he's all set, he doesn't need it.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Even though these cars are just going to be sitting there in an inventory, they're still in a Zone 3
Zone 3.
recharge area. They'll have oil and gas and brake fluid and all of the things that,
Hmm?
Plowing, sand, and salt.
I understand.
plowing, sand, salt, yeah.
Yeah, and that's for, it's for Caleb to interpret. I don't, we don't always agree, so it's his interpretation that holds firm. If he feels it's necessary, great. If not, then
What's the difference between a storage lot and a sales lot other than people walking through it?
it's entirely up to him. I don't want to try to interpret it for him. So. But as for the next item being number 5, landscaping.
How come you're skipping 2, Matt? You got the mark on.
The marks are the ones that have been addressed by the engineer.
Oh, okay.
That have been acknowledged by the peer review consultant. Do you want to talk about number 5 real quick?
sure, and we had requested a landscaping waiver on this site, both because I know that Prime Ford down the way was granted one, and they didn't really have to do much landscaping for their lot, so we're kind of following in those same footsteps. So we have not submitted a landscaping plan for this. And the concerns that I have with trying to landscape this site is that there's really not much room to put anything in around this area. We do have a 25-foot no disturb zone for conservation that kind of hugs up the side that's up against the Faith Avenue Church. So there's really not much room to do anything out there. And then along the front, we had to build up the parking lot a little bit, so we have a pretty steep slope that comes right down to the road, so it's a little difficult to put any sort of plantings in that area.
Well,
And then the site is pretty well heavily vegetated along the rear, so I mean, we're not really touching any of the trees out in the rear. There's going to be a very nice natural tree line that we're going to be preserving with this.
What was it? Yeah, I'm not sure what the situation was or the reasoning was behind Prime Ford, but it's
And
not really relative to this at all.
through the chair, yeah, I agree.
Each site
Not
is different.
relative, yeah.
correct, plus
Yeah.
they had all the trees behind them. They weren't getting rid of them.
We'll see further in the review, Mr. Chairman, that based on the layout of some of these egresses, landscaping would restrict site distance.
Site distance.
And we're gonna see this a little further along. Maybe we can come back to this. It's the board's discretion whether or not they'd like to grant waivers for what's required anyways. So we can come back to that.
All right, so we're going to come back to 5, A, B, and C.
I'm on to number 23. It's outlet control structure. Talks about a discharge point on a budding property. This is where the state highway property.
Sure, so what we had to do with the pond is that, because we can't have an overflow go into the street, so we put an outlet control structure. In the way this existing lot drains now is that there is an existing catch basin at the low point on Faith Avenue, which this whole site, more or less this whole street, flows to that catch basin, which is piped directly across the street to kind of the slope that leads down to the ramp for 290. So what we're doing with the water that we're going to be capturing over here and putting in this pond is discharging it in that same relative location by piping it under the road and then being able to daylight it in that slope coming out, so all this water still flows to where it originally did after we are able to treat it and capture it.
I don't think it's a good idea. So you're going to be directing it down onto that on-ramp on 290?
Well, what it is, when you're down there, it comes down the slope and then there's an actual drainage swale along the side over there that, you know, kind of hugs the side of the ramp over there. It'd be captured in that and then just, again, flow where it did originally before we proposed any of this.
Yeah, I'd want to myself look at that drainage swale to see what condition it's in and if
Sure.
it's still the way it was when they built the pike or whatever you're saying.
My concern is, prior to you clearing the lot, there was vegetation and homes there with very little impervious pavement, if any. Now we got a gigantic parking lot that's all impervious. You can increase the runoff probably 100-fold. So I don't even know if the swale down by the 290 or the Mass Pike's going to handle it.
Well, my concern is, that, you know, to put extra water going onto that on-ramp and the off-ramp area when cars, it's already a nightmare where the cars merge there.
And
I
don't
don't-
you have to get permission from the state to do that?
We're in the process of,
I think that's a huge impervious area that the water's just going to run down there, even though it goes for the storage in the pond. That'd be my main concern. Does this storage system have any rechargeability or no?
yes, well, we do have the big underground and then we also are recharging underneath the pond as it is, so that's more or less just the,
How do you recharge under the pond?
well, just what recharges naturally through infiltration underneath the pond.
Is that the emergency spillway that's going across?
No, that's just the, that's elevation 6.55.
It's like,
So it will drain through that as the storms occur. I mean, it's,
Design engineering.
Well, my main concern is that big storage area right next, yes. Is that a recharge unit or just a storage area? It's either one or the other.
no, it's recharging as well. It's just the overflow for this will go into the pond and then anything that can't handle will go through the outlet control structure.
Okay, so has anybody done any soil samples out there to see if it'll take recharge water?
Yes, I mean, we went out and we did test pits and saw it was all sandy loam in that area and we found groundwater to design all this against.
Anybody do a perk test to see if it would perk to take that kind of water?
I mean, we just use the standard, the Rawls rate for the hydrologic soil group.
We can't really say anything as approving that drainage or not, because he still needs permission from the state to do that,
Agreed.
right?
Agreed.
So, that's out the window right now.
Well, I'm sure that, and that'd be required for any recharge off of any sort of abutting parcel. We certainly need their consent.
Through the chair, it does state here that the applicant may wish to discuss with the town the possibility of connecting to the town's drainage system in the area. Was that pursued?
I mean, what we'd be doing at this point is just tying into that existing catch basin, and it would all still be doing the exact same.
so there's stormwater and they go right to the turnpike anyways.
Correct.
Right.
That's what that existing catch basin does. It's just piped right underneath the road and into daylight.
So the bottom line is that the state will have the final say on whether that's going to be a feasible
I mean, that's
solution.
the intent at this
But
point.
we
One
got,
or the old one.
And no-
State also has to approve the old, because now you've added to the flow to that daylight pipe down to that swale, so the state's not gonna let you just tie into the, whether the town says yes or no, the state's still gonna have to approve that. So you increase the flow, like I said, 100-fold.
Right,
Catch basin's not gonna handle it.
right.
So go to 24. So site distance, vegetation and clearing, 20-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Yep.
85th percentile.
So we do originally went out and I did a site distance based upon the speed limit of the road, but the review comments stated that we should probably try and increase the site distance to about 300 feet to capture the 85th percentile, which would be 40 miles an hour in that area. And to do that, we'll probably have to clear back some of the vegetation along the shared property line with the church, which I can just pull that right back in on the plan and be able to accommodate that.
I think they're more worried about the corner.
Well, that's the big thing, is this corner right here. It's the site distance on that is going to be, unfortunately, there's really nothing we can do about increasing the site distance on this corner, just because we need again, through the recommendation of the fire department, having two means of access to this lot. There's really no other location other than right here, because again, we do have this wetland replication for the roadway that we're working with.
And if you put it on the other side of Faith Ave, that's at the low point. And
I mean, if we tried to put it over here, we're still dealing with the corner in the site distance.
Yeah, but what's the distance from, say, just to the right? What's the distance from, if you brought it out here, from here to the corner? That's a couple hundred feet, isn't it? I don't know what the scale of the plan is. What's the scale?
I get 100 feet right here, so it'd be about 100 feet from here to where this curve starts.
But here, you got 25 feet to there, so I think that if you brought it out over the recharge area, you'd have a better sight line this way, and definitely a better sight line that way.
I believe that's consistent with what the town engineer recommended also.
I agree, but I think I like it.
Yeah, I thought we had talked about that at the last one, yeah.
There's gonna be an accident there if we let that go.
we got them to agree to move something or switch something. And it's not on that.
Correct. That's, no, the town engineer had strongly opposed that location. And I was kind of expecting on this plan it to be located up above. I would assume perhaps the client wishes that it's in the location that it's in.
I mean, that's definitely the preferable location where we have it designed.
Bill wanted it further down.
Right where I just said to put it. Same place I just said to
Just-
put it, yeah.
That's kind of trickling into number 25.
Yeah, that's right.
So they broke down Faith Ave.
So they would have to get a variance in order to be less than 200 feet.
I don't think it's a variance, it's just a, well, Bill's not gonna like it as less than 200 anyways. Most of the time when we're dealing with this.
Can I ask a real stupid question? What happens if you triple the width of the opening down there? Would that satisfy the department as for two? That'd be a question I'd ask the fire department. It doesn't affect anything. Takes away the corner. I put them side by side.
Lose a few spots, but they pick them up over here.
Correct.
Vehicle deliveries would have to go into the lot, loop around and come back out. I'm sure you'd lose some parking
There's
spaces.
just plenty of room to do that.
That's why trailer trucks articulate.
Can you show us
Of
the,
course, once they
the new
pack it,
road
you know,
section where we are?
Cars in there instead of the 100.
That's it right
Now
there.
it's designed
That's the new
for,
road.
and it'll be a
That's gonna be
problem.
like the cutoff to eliminate the old road. And then it's gonna come around, it's gonna be that big curve. And, because that's two-way. Yeah, I thought we did something there.
We did.
doesn't seem to be reflected.
It isn't.
Where did Bill want it?
He wanted it not there. His exact words were
I thought we
strongly
put, I
opposed to
thought we
location.
put it directly perpendicular onto Faith,
I believe
the
that-
straight
Correct.
shot.
I believe we talked about that at the last meeting. Not our previous meeting. Discussed this project.
How big is your recharge area? Replication of wetlands? How far does that come up this way? Is it just to here?
It comes out to the limit of right here and then down, and then just kind of from when Waterman did their design, they kind of have this funky looking shape of the replication.
You don't.
That is a funky looking shape.
So is there a reason why you didn't adhere to what the town engineer said the last time?
I mean, I just know that this is what the client would prefer, and then, I mean, one way or another, we're going to be, I understand if we come out here, we have a little more of a sight distance, but we're still going to be dealing with this curve for that second entrance to the parking lot.
So they want two entrances.
Well, there's,
I mean, I don't, why do we need two entrances?
Recommendation of the
department.
Fire department.
Couldn't make it a little wider on the other one and make sure there's plenty of room to come in and out, eliminate this one and come around?
you could put one here and one right here.
Just 200 foot.
You got 200 feet. Or,
I mean, to put 200 feet over from this one, because I got a 100-foot section, then a 100-foot section right here, and that gives me about 30 feet right here. I mean, it would be coming out to get 200 feet right on the other side of this curve.
I don't think you need to have the driveway 200 feet, you need 200 feet of sight line. I think a driveway impairs a 200-foot sight line. But if you brought a driveway out right here and used one of the areas down there for the wetland replication down there,
There,
Can't here too.
there is a big retaining wall that's being constructed here to get it up over this replication. That would,
Yeah, plus all the order conditions are already approved, right?
doesn't mean it can't be amended.
That's all right. I think a lot of that's already been replicated. They've already started that work.
yes, they have.
So Bill's not gonna let that go right there.
I agree.
Well, it's Bill and how we feel, regardless of what the state says, like with the drainage and everything.
The
We're
state's
gonna
the
have what
state.
we feel
Right.
has to be right. You know, the state can say, yeah, it's okay, we can put it down on the turnpike, but we may not wanna sign off on that.
Matt, through the chair, it's 200 feet of sight distance, not 200 feet driveways being apart.
Right.
Correct.
So we technically could go right over, just up against it, right?
Yep, exactly.
I believe what Zach is saying is that you still have a tight corner, no matter what side of the detention basin.
That's true.
Yeah, but you're
I mean, on this side here.
minimizing, you're minimizing the problem
Mhm.
instead of maximizing the problem by having that driveway come right out on the, right midway of the corner, just about.
And cars are coming around and...
Oh, yeah, they don't slow down over there.
Now, when we get to landscaping down by there, and you're looking across at the fence, the cyclone fence, and then the turnpike's brush that's there, that blocks from the turnpike there, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to some shorter type things there, where you want to just make sure that the sight distance in certain areas there, but then we still need to talk about up in the other areas in the front.
So what's the consensus?
The town engineer doesn't want it there, and we agree that it's not.
We agreed,
I
and
think
we want to
agree.
have it the way...
I don't want to speak for everybody. I know, I agree with it.
Doing a good
Nick?
job.
I agree as well. I mean, it just seems like the lesser of two problems.
Is-
Scott?
If we relocated what we're talking about, could we make that A right turn only?
They're just not
Doesn't
enforceable.
matter.
Yeah,
That, you know, we don't have any that are enforceable.
experienced that.
Yeah, we
Yes.
could,
So, kind of segues into the next item, which is employee access. Is there going to be a walking path to replace that egress so that employees can come straight from across, or are you going to have a sidewalk that gets to the driveway?
Show us what you're talking about.
Well, do you want employees are going to be coming from across the new street.
correct.
Are they going to walk straight across here?
Yeah.
Are they going to walk all the way across and then come in the new driveway?
You're gonna walk straight across.
Yeah, they're going to walk straight across, so
There should be some kind of a pedestrian access.
that's what I'm thinking.
Besides, you know darn well, when you're selling a vehicle and the color isn't up in the sales lot, they're gonna be walking down there with a customer. Yeah, we have one down the back, come take a look. You
Well,
know,
down on the corner of West and Southbridge, we had a young girl that was parking when the car lot was there and going across, get killed at that location because they were parking across the street and crossing Southbridge Street. So you're gonna have to provide something that's really a good crosswalk and adequate. I mean, I would imagine you'd wanna do that for the employees anyways.
Okay.
And possibly even, is there sidewalk on that Heart of Faith Ave? I don't see it.
No.
No, not on any of the old parts.
'Cause
And that's really dangerous.
Especially if you got cars coming out of that
I
driveway.
mean, right on that turn, like,
You got cars coming out of that driveway? And,
coming around the corner at the same
Yeah.
time on both ways.
On a freshly paved street.
It's not ideal.
Are we going back to landscaping?
But that's only for employees to walk, to look at vehicles, or to move them, or bring them over to the other site. There shouldn't be any customers there. You said it's just gonna be an inventory
Well, they say they
lot.
won't
How do you
put
enforce
customers.
that?
You know that that's not gonna happen.
No,
I mean, that's the challenge to enforce that.
because up at Wheels and stuff, they had them in the lots and going down Appleton Road and onto the thing.
So, because somebody wants a different color pickup truck, let's get out and look at it. You don't think that
Someone's not gonna drive it
the
around.
guy was
bring
gonna
up
drive it
front.
around for the guy to look at?
Especially if they actually have to walk all the way down the street.
So in theory, say this egress is moved to this side, then what would be the proposed landscaping ideas of the board? Would you then replace this with landscaping? That would inhibit sight distance though.
Well, the only thing you'll have there is maybe a pedestrian crossway,
Correct.
some, 4-foot
You know-
walkway or something.
I'm not really worried about what's facing the road. I'm more worried about the side that faces the Baptist church. Because they're looking to move. So somebody else could come in. So I don't think it's fair for a new property owner or even Faith Baptist Church to have to look at a sea full of cars. I don't know why you can't put arborvitae's all the way down that edge and leave it 20 feet short of the road. Doesn't take
That
much
should be
space.
far enough back.
I mean, the only place I'd have to work with is just this section right here, because this line is the 25-foot
Right.
no disturb for the wetlands in the rear. So all I really have to work with is just this area right in here.
To put shrubs,
The arborvitae's.
you can't put them up on the upper part of that.
Yeah, they can.
It's a challenging site.
Yep.
Well,
Well, that's where you gotta do some extra things.
Right.
Right,
to
see
make
where
it
the,
work.
Yeah.
see where Matt's cursor is right there where the hand is?
Yeah.
I see the area that you can't disturb. If you go to the right, you can take up 4 feet of those parking spaces, or 3 feet of those parking spaces and lay it right in there. Yep.
Doesn't have to
All
be
right.
exactly straight either, it could,
No?
it can
Just
move
something
a little
massive
bit.
for the next owner of the other property.
Right. And not a fence either.
I understand not wanting to do plantings here.
Right, because then
Well,
you'll
that's sloped
inhibit that,
too.
and anywhere near that curve.
Yeah.
Right, but if you're coming out of the parking lot that, or the driveway that we were talking about, right over the storage area, Matt,
Yeah.
and if you go to the right, if you don't have any plantings there, you'll be able to see somebody coming down around that corner.
Right.
I And
So-
if you planted junipers, okay, because they only grow foot and a half. You get the
So
spread.
we got the one driveway over here,
Yeah.
and then we want another one in there, the one that's on the curb to go over there.
Yeah.
And then low
Yeah, because
plantings
the-
or not, something low.
Turn them on.
That could be mulched in the front. I'm not really
Could
worried
be,
about that.
as far, yeah, I'm all right with that.
But we
Mulch and flowers.
But we typically require
There's 3 more people who-
4-foot chain link fences for detention ponds. We might want to reconsider that since it's around the corner.
If
Where's the
you,
pond? Yeah.
yeah, if you put a 4-foot chain link fence around it, if you made it black, it disappears. You see right through, you don't even know it's there.
Yeah, it's gotta be something other than chain link, because it'll look like.
Well, anything
Yeah, you
else?
wouldn't
Chain
see
link
it.
black.
Yeah, you won't see it if it's black. It disappears.
It's a thought for the board to consider.
Yeah. 4 foot, 6.
4.
So we want the driveway moved,
Okay.
the drainage checked, 4-foot black chain link fence,
And then landscaping along the western property line.
landscaping between the boundary of the church and Diamond.
Yeah.
And then
But outside
no
of that-
landscaping, John, you feel, and others, up to where the new road starts to blend up onto Faith.
No. They'd go against what
Right,
we're trying
let's,
to do.
can you put that part on there?
Moving
Yeah.
it.
You gotta get a laser pointer.
So it'd be like chip, mulch, and flowers.
That-
Doesn't show up. I have one.
Yep.
Does it show up on the screen?
I have one. It doesn't work.
Really?
Tried it, yeah. It just disappears.
We'll just bring it down so we can see it a little bit better,
Sure.
please. There we go.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
there.
all along that corner, if you wanted to put real low vegetation, that,
Say
I think.
mulch and,
I said mulch and flowers.
Yeah, but flowers they're gonna put in annual.
Annual.
And that's gonna be it, you'll never see them again. If you put in like junipers or creeping yews, something like that. it stays
Creeping
low.
juniper or ground juniper or something like that. You can look up some different things and
Sure.
get back to us. Something low, but looks a little different and might be there also in the wintertime when the other stuff is dead.
Right.
And you said the-
And right up to John, why don't you point it out to him so he's good? Right up to where it blends. No, that's on that side, Nick, for the
Right here?
church. Yeah, right up into, what area, right, whereabouts, John? So we can't see where the old road.
Well, this is the new road, right?
Yep,
So
right here.
Correct.
You wanna dress this up, you can't really do anything in here in the replication area. You have to do it right here. And,
Something low to the ground and mulch.
I'd-
I mean, you can put wetlands plantings in here
I'd-
that are low.
I don't know if that's gonna work.
If you have a pedestrian access, that's you're not gonna want to.
I don't think it works.
What if you just make
What?
Only
a
'cause
thing that was like
That's
one-
not on the definitive subdivision plan for this roadway. And that might be a modification. I don't want, but I don't think that makes sense. But this is gonna get fenced with the black chain link anyways. And then the rest of this is the slope in the front, and that's like mulching that. But along the corner, if you
I'm all
fit
in.
it, try it, but I don't know how that's possible.
Try what, man?
Landscaping now.
I'm all right with just mulch.
yeah, 'cause
If there's a spot to put it.
all the way to
Yeah,
here.
if that was the entrance for people to walk over though too, you're gonna have to.
Well,
like,
it's-
now.
Brings it up.
Where the road is, Nick,
Yeah, with grass.
is almost right where you'd put a
Okay.
employee entrance, right? Walkway.
Yeah,
Sure.
around it.
So it's gonna be within that, and it's only gonna be, that's what,
Like a
24
foot down.
wide?
Yeah.
Correct.
And we're only gonna have, what, maybe
Yeah, so if you could
6 at the most
retaining wall
for the
here.
employee walkway?
Fairly.
What is the height of the
Foot.
retaining wall?
10 feet.
I don't have that information on me. All I did was just show where it ended and where we're going to be tying to on the high side of it. I don't know the exact height of that retaining wall.
10 feet.
10 feet?
10 feet high?
It's being,
Once you get down to the replication
there's a
area.
structural review underway right now for it.
Why do they have to raise the lot that high?
Oh, that's not step forward.
Holy mackerel.
Show where the wall would be.
It's right there.
It's the low points over here. And there's
I don't see a 10-foot wall there.
it's on the subdivision plans. That's what I was told.
And the purpose of that retaining wall, obviously it's a retaining wall, but is it for the purposes of the wetland replication?
I think it was for the road to be able to get up over that wetland, and I can only speak for what I saw when I was reviewing the subdivision plans, but I do believe it was for that replication area to get up over it so that the road isn't severe in that area and not grading out into it.
Anyway, that's the other project, unfortunately.
Well, if I-
That's part of the subdivision. It's not part of this. Just wanna... Try to get through this part anyways.
Yeah, I just don't understand a 10-foot wall.
That's just what I was told. Hey, maybe I heard it wrong, but
3 feet maybe, but not 10 feet.
so
26? That's part of what we were.
yeah, that's part of what we were just discussing.
Yep.
27 talks about the notice.
So we're clear on that, though? We want some kind of employee crosswalk access.
But we'd like to remove that driveway, put it on the same proximate on the straight part of
Where-
Faith Ave.
Where are you gonna put the walkway? Anything to the bottom side of the screen? of
I'd
that
say on the
driveway?
upper side a little bit at least, so it's not, they're not crossing with the cars coming right around. As far away from the curb
Now
as
they
we
now
could.
they gotta put stairs in because you got a 10-foot wall right there.
Yeah, it can't be up there because of that wall. It has to be down here on the
Well,
corner.
they could put a set of stairs in here. But you're gonna be walking across the wetlands and you can't go in the wetlands to build the stairs, the
Right.
wetland replication.
Right, so we say it's a
So-
tricky site.
Right on the upper side of the road, the line of the road would be about someplace in there,
Up here,
as close as
before
you
the
could get
curve.
it.
Mhm.
Before the curve.
If that proves to be challenging and there's a sidewalk option along the street, then that's more cost effective. I just want to make sure that the pedestrians can get to the site.
What's the, if you wanted a sidewalk on that side, Matt, right, next to the wall, what's the problem with widening the pavement from the sidewalk to the right side of the page?
It's still just part of the other project. You're talking about the new street.
Yeah,
I don't really want to address
we
that.
gotta make
just
these
'cause
two
it's
things marry.
Yeah, but the more we change that, then they're just gonna have to come back for a modification of the subdivision. And they've already started their work on the roadway. So we can't really change that. We have to work
Well,
with
we
it.
didn't finish the design of the parking lot yet before they started on the roadway, so.
Right.
Well, that's why this has to work with what's already been approved. We can't, it's up to Zach and his team to work off of that approved plan without modifying it.
If that's the plan that's approved, then why are they working over here?
This was bought after that was approved.
Doesn't matter.
It's just timing. If they want to come back and modify it, they can, but I don't believe that's what they want to do.
So my feeling is it's compromised because like we want to change that driveway.
Mhm.
Really don't want to see it there on the curb.
Getting the driveway off of it.
And I don't really want to see the cross, for the people there either.
Yeah.
More even than the cars.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know what you do, you know?
You say no pedestrian access right there. If they choose to modify their subdivision, that's on them.
Mm.
But here if they say no pedestrian access, how do you police that? You don't walk right across anyway.
Right.
You do now. They don't look either.
So based on that, knowing that that's going to happen anyway, then there's got to be some kind of pedestrian
It
crosswalk.
just has to be, I mean, I think otherwise you're just asking for a problem.
Right.
So see what you can do.
Yeah, no, see what we
I
can
think
do
it's
with
our
that.
responsibility to ensure that the design is beneficial to the health and safety of the people that are going to be there, whoever.
Correct.
And that's what our job is, and we have to work to achieve that.
So 27 was a contour waveling, Aaron?
Yes,
If that reads?
yep, I'll repair that.
35?
35 was the pond did not have an emergency spillway, which
Right.
unfortunately the only real place to put an emergency spillway would be facing north on that pond towards Faith Avenue.
Right,
I would never
right.
expect to have to use that. I mean, that'd be worse than the 100-year storm, which again, I know the concern with putting it onto the roadway is freezing, but that doesn't happen in the winter. It's all snow. If anything, it'd be in the spring where you wouldn't have freezing and all the water would be able to get down to that existing catch basin. Really the only place to put that. I mean, it looks like it's going to change a little bit now anyways with they're moving that driveway, but
Yeah.
I'll definitely look at a new location to put that.
Okay. I'm on to number 42.
And 42 was the existing right-of-way that exists through. So this was the old existing conditions plan. So along Faith Avenue, there was an existing right-of-way that cut in between 28 and 30. I mean, we're still, that right-of-way is, it's there,
Still
but
on the books?
it's still on the books, but it's not being
What
used.
was
But
it for, do you know?
I don't know. I've researched
just
it.
when
It's
the
just
people were there
it's
and-
just there.
I know why. And that used to be Central Street back. You're talking about this little part right here. It's like a little bump.
That little bump would be the proposed asphalt for moving that catch basin
Okay.
out a little bit.
The right of way itself.
And what we're proposing to do, and kind of my intent with this, is that regardless of how you get into this parking lot, you can still access that right-of-way by being able to just drive through the parking lot and get to it, and that we're not creating any worse conditions that exist now than are already there. Correct, it's down that property line.
Got it. It's like an
Where's the
old
right of way
20
street or something.
20 foot wide?
Again, this thing is old enough that
Yeah.
it's very difficult to find who this thing serves and what the intent of it was.
It's like old Oxford Street. You know?
Well, on the right of way,
Connect.
you can't build a permanent structure or anything like that. You have to keep it clear.
And
And you're only having the parking and stuff like that.
correct, so you can still navigate to this right-of-way regardless how you enter this parking lot, so that is still being accessible regardless of how any of this gets
Probably
laid
never
out.
gonna happen.
I would never imagine so, but it's still,
'Cause it
We're
just fed
maintaining
up into
access.
that wetland up through there. It's,
I mean, you can't do anything in the rear anyways, again, like you said, because there's a stream and a wetland, but I'm not making it any more difficult to use that right-of-way if anybody was to ever lay claim to it.
It's not an easement for anything? Sewer?
It says 30-foot wide right-of-way, and then there is a 20-foot wide utility easement from the center line of that heading east.
Right.
And that was, I mean, there's no utilities there. There used to be the old utility pole in the middle of those two lots, and I don't know if that's what the intent of that was for, but that's going to be removed because those structures are no longer there.
I don't think Central Street ever went over there.
No, that would have been...
It ended, it's
That
on
would've
the
been
other
Oxford
side of
Street.
it's on the other side of 395, and it's got that loop there, and that's where it always was.
The whole area, it was really hard to figure out because Central used to run the entire length of Faith. This used to be Central. And then Oxford Street somehow got from Oxford Street here to Oxford Street there. And if that had something to do with it, it wouldn't surprise me. So, well, the
So
highways-
that
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be,
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
that would be a town right away.
yeah, that may or may not be what it is too. But yeah, Central used to come here. See.
It doesn't tell you what the courthouse?
No, I've researched as far as I can get with
I've
my
had-
records, and it's a very, very vague right-of-way that doesn't really determine any sort of use from it or who owns claim to it or what the intent was, just it shows up.
I've had some fun finding that stuff too. It's not easy.
You can only go so far back in the registry before you
Right, yeah.
start reading cursive.
Right, but the way that's running now, it ends at the back of Prime Ford.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be I could have connected here, like
Yeah.
this, who knows? So without finding an old map, which I haven't found yet. So, anyways.
If it's more than 50 years, I don't.
Yeah.
So not a.
So.
But
anyway.
then again, to reiterate, is that we're not making it any more difficult if anybody was to use that, because they can still come into the parking lot, navigate to the rear of the parking lot, and it's probably actually easier access now than it would have been prior.
I think that
It's
was-
kind of like if you do something there and it ever had to get moved, you would have, if somebody claimed the right of way and said they wanted to do it, but I wouldn't even be thinking about it.
So that's all the
Now,
comments.
42 minutes, yep, so that was it on that.
Yep.
Good.
So just to recap,
Back to the drawing board.
we'll talk to Kayla about that special permit. I don't believe it was on the ZIR, but I'll just verify it with him. The landscaping is up to the board when and if the plan's revised, grant waivers for the standard landscaping, which this isn't gonna require.
Well, I think they should come back with the new,
Yeah.
drawings, and then we can look and work on what we want where.
Yep. State permission for the
Drainage.
outlet, if that is, how that stays, or the tie-in with the town. Getting the town engineers permission for that.
Because you said, excuse me, you said that catch basin collects and goes down and out into the bank into the turn
Correct.
on that
Yeah, if
ramp.
you go by, you see there's actually a big saw cut in the
I just don't
pavement.
want the state to look and think that it just goes in a catch basin and down somewhere else, not, because they're probably not thinking that it goes out onto the turnpike.
No,
'Cause
that
it's
catch
wet in
basin is
that
the-
area. That's always wet, that side of that driveway. And I don't know how much of a berm is up there that keeps it from going on the,
Then you have the driveway relocation, pedestrian access, landscaping next to the the Faith Church property, contour correction,
you got this.
and emergency outlet change if that's possible.
Arborvitae's along Faith Ave,
Yep.
too.
Also.
You had pedestrian access, I think you just said.
Yep.
And the everybody's between the Baptist church and
Yep.
Could even explore the other option that Mr. Regan pointed out about an extra wide one driveway and see if the fire department would be all right with that.
We can get in touch with them and see if that's something that would satisfy what they need
Yeah.
over there.
Is there any other questions?
inside the box.
Yep.
Okay.
Nick, anything? Scott? John?
Nothing to add.
Wendy? No?
Good.
Better not either. You guys want to continue October 9th? Is that right? I have to get a continuance form, but you guys can vote if you want.
Make a motion to continue the meeting to October 9th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
9th, let's see, that's a vote. Oh, my God, to vote.
We got the next.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Monday's October 6th.
Didn't you hear me the last time?
I thought you'd forget.
Spring pens.
No,
I was hoping you'd forget.
he'll never forget.
Never.
Just getting a continuous.
Wait,
Yeah.
people are gonna think he's buying you for a pen.
No, would be a few pens.
I thought if you to go out and sell in a corner, make money.
I bought it in the den at the house after.
Actually, I have Roach and Rennie pens in my car. I have my Laura pens in the car.
Here we go.
Oh, so you got them too?
Like 1,000 of them for David Broder. Whatever it is.
Okay,
And
what's
chapstick.
next?
We haven't seen Marty Broder in ages. Did he retire?
Yeah.
Did he retire?
I don't think he does too much. I don't, but I think he's still there.
TV.
Todd.
He lives up in TV.
Todd does,
Yeah.
Bud does it. He works at Fletcher and Hilton.
We used to see Larry pretty regularly.
So I'll put some of these comments off in an email to him. I'll
Okay.
CC all the other town departments too.
Perfect. Go from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right. This is nice. I have a feeling that one's taken.
It's interesting. I wouldn't want any issues.
I want to reiterate the notion
It's even
that the lot that's having cars is sales.
All right.
173 cars are still sales.
Any recess or anything?
The nature of it is that.
But
We in? Are we in recess? Ronnie, are we in recess? or-
So you can't tell me that it's only.
No, we were just waiting for
You
John.
wanna
Oh,
recess?
Lights are on, that's all.
Use 1,500 cars in there.
But do you need a recess?
Do you?
No. I just want to wait for John to come back. But I just, when you're talking back, make sure they take a good look at that too.
Yeah, that was their,
Well,
that was the second review though.
you can't you call them and just say something?
I could try.
It's on the driver's seat. We can grab it, take a look at it.
All right, John's back. We can resume.
And if you advertise it on the line, it's like a lift for sale.
Okay. We have a 7:10 public hearing. It's a new applicant, SAI Group, a request for site plan approval under section 9.4.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for the installation of 8 electric vehicle charging stations and associated equipment at the Auburn Mall, located at 385 South Street, map 33, parcel 87. We need a motion to open the public hearing. Do I have a motion to open this public
Make
hearing?
a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Good evening.
Could you give Rachel your name and...
Yes, my name is Paul Trudell. I am with the SAI Group. I'm a construction manager.
Thank you.
Welcome. We are the firm assigned to do the design and the construction of electric vehicle charging stations for Electrify America. This particular site is located in the Sears parking lot on the northwest side, adjacent to Route 12. So if you were to see where the location of Arby's is, we'd be right across Route 12 in the parking lot on that corner there. That's what he's got right there.
So right on the edge of the garage.
Is the black roof, Matt, that's the Sears garage area?
There's the
Yeah.
parking garage and that's the building.
That's the
It's
Sears.
gonna be in that
The
little-
parking garage is not on that, it's down lower.
This street charging station's here already?
Yeah,
Did you do the last ones?
No, we didn't. No,
And
we've
that's
done
it?
maintenance on the Tesla station. That's on the other side of that parking garage.
Because we have a few there.
Right. Right. You have the EVgo stuff that's located right there, and then you have Tesla on the other side. These particular dispensers will be universal for any electric vehicle. Teslas can charge at these, but they will need an adapter. But obviously they would use their dispensers instead of these. So our proposal is to install 8 dispensers and also associated equipment, which will consist of a utility provided transformer, which will be installed by National Grid. Also, they will be placing a span pole for us on the other side of the drive aisle, which they'll be pulling overhead power from a pole that's located on Route 12. Also, in our landscaped equipment area will be 3,000 amp switchgear, which will be pad mounted, and also associated power cabinets, which will also be pad mounted. Right now, currently, the area has 15 existing parking stalls. The area that you see there with the
Those
equipment.
stalls, excuse me, that you're showing are aiming directly at Southbridge Street, right?
Right, correct.
There's a little access driveway first.
Yeah, there's a 2-lane drive aisle that goes around the mall there.
Yeah.
cursors is where you want to put the charging stations,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
good.
on the leg of the island there, that's where you want to put your electrical gear.
Correct. So those 4 stalls that are there right now, there will be a curb extended off that existing curb, and you'll basically be cutting right across those 4 stalls for our equipment area. That will be our equipment location. And then there will be asphalt and restripping done in those other stall areas where the dispensers will be.
I don't think that's an area that's heavily parked ever.
No, out of all the times that I've been there, which is probably about 3 different times now, there's been no cars parked there.
Just Christmas.
Yeah,
Yep.
holidays, Black Friday and Christmas would be most used.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, especially with, the rise of electric cars, it's a great thing.
Right. We did go in front of the Conservation Board and the Zoning Board as well, and we did receive approvals from both of those.
And it looks, through the chair, it looks like at some point there's going to be some expansion if all goes well.
That's correct. So there is a handhole location proposed at the end of the dispensers. So if you were to look at, there are 2 future EV spaces called out there. That is to allow for any future expansion. Those 2 stalls will not be designated for EV vehicles now, but in the future there is a possibility for it to expand 2 more stalls and install 2 more dispensers in those locations. So we'll run spare conduits to that handhole.
Yep, and you don't have to do the digging again,
Right.
because you got the brook right across the way.
Right.
No, they stopped it with only way we got to eat.
Yeah.
A couple of
Yes.
questions, Mr. Chairman. Just for discussion's sake, through the chair, does the transformer pad or any of the equipment, is that wider than existing parking stalls? Is it going to create any?
Well, no, it's pretty much to scale here on the drawing.
Okay.
So that whole area, those 4 stalls that are there, those will be gone, and then there's also kind of a striped off area in the corner there that you see there.
Mhm.
Our curb will be built out, closing off those 4 stalls in that striped out area,
Okay.
and then we'll have all of our pad mounted equipment in there.
Okay. And then my other question, Mr. Chairman, is what type of landscaping are we talking about? Is this just arborvitae's or?
Yeah, we have 27 proposed green arborvitae's that will be going in that area as landscape screening.
Those are the only questions I had, Mr. Chairman.
Nick?
None.
Scott? John?
Yes. On the arborvitae screening, is there any way we can get more in there so we don't actually see this unit?
I mean, yes, we could probably put some more along the north side of the equipment where we're relocating an existing light pole.
There.
Kind of block it off right there. Is what-
on the street.
Right.
About the left side, right there, that whole island area there.
I assume sight distance or even
Sight
maintenance.
distance. Your sight distance doesn't come into play till you get to the end of that driveway.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
maintenance is a person that goes in and works on it, right? It's
Right,
not-
so the clearance in front of the transformer doors is generally 10 feet. The sides is generally, it's usually, depending on the utility company, 3 to 4 feet, what I've come across. This actual landscape plan was approved by Simon. That's what they had agreed upon with us. But it is open to adding additional landscape screening if needed.
If we can fit more in, and they're subject to, when you plan on any of our things, that if in a year or so, or 2 years, they're dead and they don't make it,
Right.
if you plant them right, they'll be beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're not gonna get, you gotta leave room for where the water can get to them too,
Right.
because they're gonna be all asphalt everywhere.
Yeah. So the only thing with putting additional trees on the top side there of those power cabinets would be we are going to be routing conduit
Wires.
from conduit with wires in them from those power cabinets over to the dispensers.
Over here.
So there will be conduits running through that area. So to allow for, generally we're 4 feet down.
Leave a 3-foot gap.
So we'd have to leave a little bit of a gap just to run our conduits through. But we could probably squeeze a few more trees in that area.
Anything to hide it, I mean, it's not really a good looking,
Right, yeah, understood, I understand.
On both sides, but then you've got the consideration of cars pulling in and out too, and on that corner, right? Isn't there a stop sign right there on that
yep,
side?
but if you're coming,
This way.
It's right there.
Yeah, it should be fine.
if you're coming from in the parking lot out, your sight line has to be to the left, not to the right. So that, you're clear there.
Right.
If
That's
you get down to the corner, you can see both ways going down. If I'm not mistaken, this is up in the air a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't affect you anyway.
Right. Yep. You
Yeah,
should
it's
be
a
fine.
slight, it's a slight grade, very
Yeah.
slight.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Could be a standard, it could be a condition just for... Yeah, however you want to word that. It could be conditioned that way.
I'd like to see another plan before we say yes or no. Landscape plan, other than that,
We could request that it's submitted prior to signing the decision.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Only-
works for me.
That's the only, that's all I had.
Anything else? No public comment? Do we have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the condition that a modify the landscape plan be submitted
Do I have a s-
prior to signing the decision.
do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
John seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
Thank you.
So
Good
our
luck.
next meeting is October 9th. If you guys can send us just a touched-up plan that shows the landscaping, and then I can cite it in the decision, we can have it signed at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
That was the site plan approval, right?
Yes.
And the special permit?
So the special permit we'll do now, and that's to allow for
Reduction.
reduction in parking. Okay. That's the easy one. That's the easy one, so.
Just trying to sneak out.
We have a 7:15 public hearing. The applicant is SAI Group, a request for special permit under Section 4.5.6.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for relief from the schedule of parking uses in Section 6.3 for the installation of 8 electric vehicle charging stations and associated equipment at the Auburn Mall located at 385 Sulphur Street, Auburn, map 33, parcel 87. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing? Do
Make that motion?
we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the hearing is open. The applicant is present. Make sure you already got the name.
I can elaborate on this one, Mr. Chairman. So what this actually is, I know there's 8 charging station stalls. There's only a reduction in 4 spaces because those 8 charging stalls are still parking spaces. The 4 that are for the equipment is what's being removed. So it's an overall reduction of 4 spaces.
Are they really parking spaces? I can't park there.
By,
Charging thing here.
by a technical definition, they are still considered parking spaces.
How many spaces has the mall got all
I knew you were
overall?
going to ask
God.
You should have it on the top of your head.
I should.
2,432.
Is it?
I guess the 2,500.
It is.
You're a genius, I mean, we know that.
We all know that.
Yeah, good. So, yeah, this will be a reduction by 4 spaces from the overall count.
If I could just elaborate on that.
Go ahead.
We are going to be recoating the asphalt and restriping the area, which the existing stalls are approximately 9 foot to center right now. We will be changing the dimensions of the stalls, so they will actually be 7 out of the 8 will be restriped to 10 foot 7, and one of the stalls, EV parking stall number 8, at the end will be a 15-foot stall to be
Handicap?
right, correct. So we are actually going to be losing more than 4 here. It's actually going to be a total of 7,
Okay.
once everything is restriped. So that would bring your total parking count at the mall to 2,425.
Very good. Awesome. What do you say?
And our approval from Simon was to utilize 15 total parking stalls existing.
Okay, anything else? Nick, Scott, John, Wendy, Nate? No? Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do you have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote. Do we have a motion to approve the reduction in parking spaces?
I'll make a motion to approve the reduction in parking spaces.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Okay.
Good luck.
Excellent, thank you again. Thanks.
That'll be ready at the next meeting. That's an easy one to write. Template for that already. Okay. Bylaws.
We want to go home.
Yes.
We have a 7:20 public hearing. New amendments to sections 3.1 and 3.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaws to add new section 3.2.1.7 and section 3.2.1.8 for medium and large-scale ground-mounted solar energy systems. An amendment to section 3.9 of the Auburn zoning bylaws to add new section 3.9.4.7 and section 3.9.4.8 for roof-mounted and small-scale ground-mounted solar energy systems. Creation of a new section 3.1.0 of the Auburn zoning bylaws to define the govern the ground-mounted solar energy systems. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open the public hearing?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The hearing is open. Matt?
Yes, sir. So, all right. We can tackle this one of 4 ways. We do need 4 separate votes for this, for all 4 sections. But I'll briefly describe as best I can. Section 310, which is the ground-mounted solar energy systems, that's the meat and potatoes of this bylaw. What this does is put regulations on medium-scale and large-scale solar energy systems. Medium scales are solar arrays that fit a square footage of up to 40,000 square feet of ground-mounted, and large scale is anything that's over that, 40,000 or more. What this does is put application requirements, general conditions, governance for special permit requirements, site plan approval requirements, utility notifications, design standards, including decommissioning bonds. A lot of the things that we covered in some of our last solar approvals were placed in this bylaw just to give us a skeletal structure to work with moving forward. Also covers environmental standards, landscaping, monitoring and maintenance reporting, abandonment, decommissioning, and financial sureties, and naturally a severability section. We distributed this at our last meeting in the 11th in advance so the members could read this and prepare any questions for today's meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Does it protect us from what happened with that other one where those lots that, didn't have the requirement?
You have the buffers
Is there a way,
between
the
them and all.
buffers, is there a way that this protects from that happening again?
By having a bylaw for it, they can only have one principal use structure per lot. Now, the division that they did was to circumvent state law. We can't necessarily put any sort of subdivision requirement in the zoning bylaws.
Because they made the lots and had only one on each one.
And they did that through subdivision process. So the zoning bylaw can only govern its use, but now that it's restricted to a principal use structure, only one per lot, the subdivision piece is still a different section, and we couldn't really regulate that here. They're still supposed to follow the state's law, and even though that other group didn't do it, I still don't think they're going to get through the state even before they put a shovel in the ground. That's my opinion.
Okay. I just don't want to see anything like that happen again.
There's a few things I just want to go over. On 3.1.0, Matt, where
Yeah.
it starts, I see that it says, the purpose of this bylaw, and then it says, one of the things I looked at, minimize impacts on residential properties and neighborhoods, protect natural resources, including wildlife and habitat and corridors, and preserve scenic, historical, and cultural resources, and I think that's really important. And on the next page, still under that,
I think that needs to go further.
I was just going to say protect natural resources.
yeah, what does it mean?
Does that
I
mean
mean,
we can go
because-
in and clear cut 40 acres of land to put up some solar panels? I mean,
So I'm glad you asked that question. So what this bylaw does not cover is clear cutting. When the zoning bylaw review committee, which Nick was also a part of, clear cutting was, it's real difficult to govern just for solar. If we were to govern it for solar, we're better off making a section of that in the bylaws that covers a lot of projects, subdivisions included, not just for solar. We do it for solar, then we're nitpicking one use over the rest. So I've made that clear to the other factions within my department to consider clear cutting bylaw for the next town meeting, hopefully. But there's different ways you can govern clear cutting. You can do limits of acres per year. I've seen some bylaws that provide financial compensation based on how many trees you cut down.
What do you mean by?
You cut down over 1,000 trees, any tree over
You get
that, it's
fined.
like you have to pay the board a certain dollar value. There's some
Cordwood.
there's some odd way to do it.
Pound for it.
But there were too many different examples in order to get ready for October town meeting, so we didn't find that to be something we could cover in time. So some of the state regulations are advisable for solar applicants to seek out properties that do not contain wooded lots, although they tend not to do that. Some towns have restrictions in their bylaw that just say clear 1 acre per year, and that causes developers not to look for wooded lots. But we just felt that would be,
I'm surprised that doesn't get contested.
that's the other thing.
It does.
I
If you
feel
have to
that
apply
way.
that to subdivisions,
Yeah, that's what I didn't like about it either. So we decided to pull that chapter altogether, or that section altogether. But it was a good question.
It also said something about historical. When you read it, it said something about historical.
It covers that also. There's a historical chapter in here too. Covers like 310.9. These habitat impacts should not be located in permanent protected open space or priority habitat. Also, core habitat areas from the NHESP. That was the environmental piece, and I believe there's a historical piece in here somewhere also.
Yeah, Ron just read it.
Yeah. Which,
But
I saw the summary, but there's a more descriptive piece in the bylaw. But even so,
Matt, there's one here on the second page, on page 2 of solar energy systems active.
yes.
It's the fourth, and it just says at the end, solar energy systems shall not be included in calculations for lot coverage or impervious cover.
Yes, technically
They
they're
don't
not.
consider them impervious because the rain can still go off of them and into the ground.
Technically, that is pulling right out of DOER's guidelines. Although I don't agree with it.
Are you saying it is impervious or it isn't?
It
Is
is
it-
considered pervious.
It's not impervious because the
Of course
rain
it is.
hits them and runs off and goes into the ground.
I agree.
So
with
is the roof of a house impervious
I-
then?
I agree with you,
No.
John. That's just how DOER interprets solar.
this is the ground mounted.
This, yeah, I
This,
imagine.
this bylaw only governs ground-mounted, medium scale, and large scale. The accessory use regulations are permitted in any zoning district, and that's roof-mounted systems and small scale, less than 1750 square feet.
Who makes that decision?
Which part? The pervious and impervious?
Yeah,
We had to pull straight from DOER's guidelines. So,
DOER,
the Department of Energy Resources.
I That doesn't even make sense.
I don't agree with it either. I think it's ridiculous. But
In 3.10.2.1, or point 2, just up in that area, I had made a remark about, I think I was reading it and didn't see removal provisions, but I saw it later, I think,
yeah.
that they're responsible for removal.
Yes, the bylaw review committee spent a lot of time on that.
3.10.13.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on, that's page 9, abandonment, decommissioning, indemnification.
And that's for large and medium scale only?
Yes.
Yes.
Matt, 3.10.3.4, the MGL, the 61A land and stuff like that, what is that?
Okay, so it's permitted and following true unless disclosed. It says there no system shall be permitted if any of the following are needed or true unless disclosed with the initial site plan. It's just saying you need to disclose that with your application. And I don't
Then the
believe-
town gets the first right of refusal.
Yeah, I don't think the application could be accepted if, in fact, those first steps have not been taken.
Wendy, back to your point 2, the 3.10.2.1 and 2, an installation may be permitted on one or more adjacent parcels under common ownership. The last issue we had was not common ownership, it was all separate LLCs.
Right, right.
It doesn't solve the problem completely, but it helps.
Right, but it does help. Yeah, I just saw that, yeah.
I just made a comment on 3.10.4.6 of the import of foreign materials or gravel or anything like that. They said it has to be approved,
Yes.
manifest provided. I think that's good.
Which one are you on, Ron?
Phil?
3.10, on the almost the bottom of page 4, 3.10.4.6. And 3.10.7 goes in there, landscaping and buffering. Landscaping shall be provided and maintained in accordance with the site plan approved by the planning board and incorporated as part of the plans on which the permit is based. And landscaping shall be provided and maintained on the site to screen the installation, the accessory facilities and appurtenant structures as determined by the planning board. Landscape screening shall be provided adjacent to abutting properties where a front side or rear lot line of the installation adjoins or is separated by a public way from a residential district or an existing residential use. Because when they did the one across from me, they did some of that, but then if this was in there, it would be not like,
Be mandatory.
it would be mandatory.
What was the justification for exempting the small structures out?
Because something of that size would only power a structure.
Okay.
That it's
It's so
servicing.
small that it wouldn't
Yeah,
necessarily...
it'd be as an accessory use to whatever structure's installed. Yeah. And by putting it under accessory use, this means a vacant lot couldn't just build one and sell it back to the grid. It'd have to service a house as an accessory use.
But if you had
Or
multiple
or
abutting
business.
lots under common ownership?
It's the small scale and the roof mounted don't apply to the rest of the bylaw.
Okay.
It's just accessory uses.
Just limited to that, okay.
Yeah.
And towards the end, 3.10.13, the abandonment is addressed in there in several
Yeah.
Yes.
paragraphs.
I really liked that section.
We spent a lot of time on that.
The idea is just that you're not left with unusable materials sitting on lots that haven't been clear cut or whatnot.
Yep.
The general idea.
We'll go over the enforcement, the amount of days that they have to get it done, who it falls back on.
My question is, how do we know it's no longer being in use? We don't know that.
I think it says something in there if it's not used for over a year.
Yeah.
In one of them, that it's considered abandoned.
180
closed.
days.
Yes.
The question is, how do we know it's not being used?
Hmm.
We don't know.
No?
You can write that in, but who's gonna inspect it to see it's, does the electrical
does that
inspector go
fall
out
under?
once a year? Does the electrical inspector go out once a year to make sure everything's still up to snuff, or what? I don't know.
Yeah, does that become part of their
They have to
responsibility?
they have to provide annual reporting. And if they stop providing annual reporting, usage and stuff, so
Red flag.
it's not being used.
Or reviews the annual report and be
Anybody
able
can
to
write a
determine
report,
that.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Now, we finished the approval of both of those basically at the same time. That's probably 4 months ago anyways, 5 months ago, Matt.
They have,
And they haven't, I thought I heard him cutting across the street one day, but I called the kid. He usually was good at calling back, but he didn't.
so they post a bond, they better not be cutting anything.
And, yeah, but I thought they said they were gonna start in the fall. But they haven't done, and you said the other group on Leicester hasn't been back or looked for anything.
The SMART program, all that's been delayed. I know a lot of the developers have been holding off on this stuff.
I got them calling at work. I must have 10 in the last 3 weeks
Yeah.
wanting to come.
You might,
Solar mounted, roof mounted, front lawn mounted, they
Oh, I
got
know
everything.
Yeah.
And I just sent stuff back to the controller and that it's just not worth it to us. It's too, demands too much of your time and you don't know what they're gonna do to the roof and you know, the return isn't that great.
so there's gonna be a 150% surety or bonds posted for decommissioning.
That's the key thing is the bond
Yeah.
would need it. We'll have a bond and if they don't do it and we do determine it by those time periods that are installed in here, we can then go in and have somebody take them down.
Okay.
And sell the scrap.
That's
Oh,
not
wow.
gonna be,
I think since they're required you can correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but like the site's required to be maintained, I think, that would be like an indication of the site stops being maintained. That
Yep.
The potential that could be.
you got, when we bond it, we need to cover what, the structure, I'm not sure if it's aluminum or steel, the structural part, but the panels, they may have to be disposed of in a certain fashion as
Right.
environmental waste. So you have to make sure that that's covered in the bond.
Yep. The amount shall include a mechanism for calculating increased removal costs. The owner shall increase or
Escalation.
replenish the surety as necessary to maintain an adequate amount as determined by the board.
I mean, it's a technology
Can't
that's
you
going to advance.
predetermine an escalator at so
Yeah.
much
So when you
percent?
look at the existing
Right out the gate.
solar farms, like if you go out one next to Shepherd Hills, one I always look at, like they're huge, right? But over the next 5 to 10 years, I mean, it could be a fraction of the size
get
and
the
not
same
putting the
output.
same amount of energy, so.
You mean they diminish their output?
No.
No,
Technology.
Technology's gonna advance so
To
quickly.
change it and put
Advances.
something else in?
It could be, they could get twice the output with
Remember
smaller
those big
structures.
cell phones we
and
had
remove-
that were this long and big
The bag
antenna?
phones.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And now we've got these,
Now we're going the opposite way,
Right.
bigger cell phones.
So, yeah.
Back to 3.10, ground-mounted solar energy systems about minimize impacts on residential properties, neighborhoods, protect natural resources, including wildlife habitat, in corridors, and preserve scenic, historical, and cultural resources. What's the definition of preserve? What I don't want to see is, we have a nice recreational area up there on top of Packagug Hill, and somebody builds a solar field right next to it.
Yeah.
To me, that's not preserving.
Well,
I don't see
thankfully,
it.
that would require a special permit from the ZBA, and if they feel it doesn't preserve the historical, natural, or cultural aspect of that area, they can deny it.
Hey, I'm not a lawyer.
It's broad, and I think that was intentionally broad to give the zoning board broad
Room to work
rights to
with.
deny, yeah, and to approve.
It's like a special permit for keeping in character with the neighborhood. It's up to the interpretation of the board.
So I'll make sure we're covered.
What's the big section anyways? You guys want me to go into the smaller ones?
I thought it was great.
Get it done.
The accessory use was just the roof mounted and the small scales, allowed in all districts. The description of uses is in there, and it just has a reference to the definitions under section 310. The table of principal uses I thought would be our biggest discussion item, and that's section 3.1 on the first page. So what zones do you want these to be site plan approval? Which ones do you want them to be special permit? So the reasoning of the zoning bylaw review committee had for the site plan approval for the medium scales. So medium scale ground mounted can't exceed 40,000 square feet. Making them come in for a special permit seemed a little odd, but it could be done in zones where you feel it's more appropriate.
So let me ask this question. If you have a 50,000 square foot lot, you got 10,000, say it's zoned for quarter acre lots, you can put a house on it, 40,000 in your backyard can be a solar field?
No, because that'd be an accessory use to the primary use. So it's not,
Primary use
Why
would
would
be
the
the house.
accessory to the primary use if he's feeding the pole?
because the primary use is the house as a residence. So that couldn't be an accessory use for a medium scale. So
Could he subdivide it so he could do that?
would it have frontage?
I don't know. Corner lot, yeah.
It still need to have a buildable lot, yeah, so we couldn't just do it on backland.
Okay. My other question is, on the roof mounted ones like on homes,
Yeah.
Mr. Real Estate Lawyer, what does that do to the value of the house next door?
That's for realtors to say. I mean, you could say if you don't like the look of it, but I mean, a lot of people like the solar. We see it all the time now. Even the least
Relax
solar.
it. Relax it with the insurance company.
Some realtors prefer that it's on the back of your house.
Yes,
But it's
You
really
can't
you're facing
something-
the south side of the back, yeah.
Yeah, that's just,
I mean, that's
Aesthetics.
like a swimming pool. It could add value. It could not add value to the eye of the beholder. It's
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
You know.
So Matt, SP is special permit,
yep,
SPA, special permit granting authority,
SPA site plan approval.
site plan approval. And when does it determine, because the zoning board has some of these.
The zoning board has the special permits,
SP.
yes. That'd be the approve or deny scenario. The planning board would regulate the site and all of its design requirements.
They'd have the nose too, right, for variances on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We thought it was important to make sure that they're prohibited in residential A. Those are the smallest lots for residential, 10,000 square foot lots. That's a lot of the denser neighborhoods,
10,
Packagug Hill,
20, 40.
Boy Street area too,
Right.
up there. Those
60.
are the dense neighborhoods. Residential B has some large land, but one of them is, hey, Pappas, the cornfield. That's residential B for one.
Which
So,
one?
The cornfield up at Pappas Rec. That's residential B, technically. Now, there's large tracts of land, but an approve or deny situation allows the board to weigh in on the neighborhood and decide if it's appropriate for the area. Residential C and residential R have the largest tracts of undeveloped land. It's approve or deny scenario also for those. Residential office is only that Auburn Street section. It didn't make sense to have any solar there, along with local business, which is Drury Square, the mall, and all the way to the Acura dealership, and the highway business corridor along Route 12. We didn't want to see solar taking up Route 12. The industrial zones raise a different question. There's not a lot of developable land left in our industrial corridors. There's one parcel. Actually, there's two off Hard Scrabble. There's one off the end of the street, and there's one here that has frontage on West Street.
On
That's
West.
that's owned by the railroad. It's behind you. All right. Then you have Soy Street Office Park. This area here, which includes West Tech Drive and the Dartmouth College parcel across the way. And then the general industry areas, which is Milbury Street, Technology Drive, Route 20 from about Elm Street to the overpass where the storage units are. And that's the general industry area, including St. Mark Street. Not a lot of developable land in any of these areas,
When you cut them out of hard scrabble and
but
take
there's
a
a
right,
couple of unused parcels, like this one here, which has overhead wires it's gonna be hard to put a building on that parcel, and
You can't
Marty
put them
Reis-
under the wires.
Yeah, Marty
You
Reiser's
can
been
park
having,
under the wires, but you
Yeah.
can't.
maybe that's more appropriate for solar.
And you
Gets
come out
it
of
on the tax
Hardscrabble and
Yeah.
take a right on West to come up.
Yeah.
What about the
There's
whole front
Mrs.
area of Worcester envelope, next to Ryder, all the way up to the new building they put
That
up
might be
there?
something that they could consider. And that's part of that GI district too. They'd have to find frontage for Worcester envelope still. Bisect that maybe.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Yeah.
The old
And then the
town.
GI district along, what's that, the west, southbound side of Route 12, which is, what's this? Most of the Leesville Pond water basin anyways.
Have
Those are
you
real
had
narrow
anyone come in?
parcels that don't have a lot of space for development.
Have you had anyone come in on that first piece coming out of Hardscrabble and going up?
Not,
Where Mrs. Walquist was, it's about 12 acres.
yeah,
That's industrial A too.
yeah, that, I
That's
know which one
before
you
the
mean.
bridge.
That's this one here.
I heard somebody was coming
Yeah.
in with a
Hadn't seen one yet. I had a concept
70,000
plan.
square foot building.
I had a concept plan come in again, I don't know, for Rochdale Street, but it was just conceptual. It's more like Leicester Street, actually.
I was just gonna ask about Leicester Street,
Yeah,
some land up there.
no.
It's a huge lot where all the old cars are.
Hmm.
Real left, it's a huge lot.
Where?
Go up Leicester Street, right before the end, before you hit Stafford. There's a lot right
Oh,
there
yeah.
in the garage, and the old cars that are in the plot. It's a big lot.
Yeah.
I get around.
Huh?
I get around.
That may or may not have been what
My
came in.
son's.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's some nice cars there.
But the whole purpose of even getting this bylaw in is to make sure that whoever comes in to develop has to follow this bylaw and not just what's currently in place. But my big question is, does the board have any objections to how it's laid out with special permits and site plan reviews for the medium and large scales in those particular zones?
So in RR, it's special permit,
Yep.
site plan approval, or special permit.
So, yeah, site plan approval for all medium scale, and RB, RC, and RR, GI, and the 3 industrial zones. And special permit for everything large scale. Now, at first, there was some reservation about making it approve or deny for all large scale developments, until I saw a couple of other towns do it, and got past the Attorney General, so then I was okay with that. I thought we had to allow it outright in one of the zones, but some other towns didn't, so we're not gonna either.
Cool.
Yeah.
Need a motion to approve?
So I would need 4 separate motions on each of the sections. First motion is to close the public hearing, and then 4 separate motions.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
So we're looking for motions
I know,
to
right?
support, and I'll just read the sections, and then someone can move it.
Matt,
Close. Yes.
I'm just gonna abstain from these votes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I have one motion, need a motion to support section 3.10 as drafted.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's a vote.
Okay, I'm going to be looking for a motion to support section 3.9, to add new sections 3.9.4.7 and section 3.9.4.8 as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to support an amendment to section 3.2 to add definitions, section 3.2.1.7, section 3.2.1.8 as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then one more final motion to support the bylaw for section, amendments to section 3.1 to add new use descriptions for 3.2.1.7 and 3.2.1.8 as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Those are all 4 to 0 to 1s.
Closed. Member discussion, associate member, we're always looking for him still. October meeting is the 9th. We'll discuss the next meeting when we find out about Halloween. Nick, anything else? Scott, John, Wendy? Me? No,
Make a
we have a
motion
motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.